Last week, after a series of unfortunate events, we had to cancel our game at the last minute. But, a buddy of mine, he was already over, so we decided to watch some bad movies, and we had a good time. But after he had left, I still had that itch, so I decided to play with myself, and it was fun. Hello Internet, Seth Skorikowski. Today we'll be taking a look at the Call of Cthulhu solitary adventure, Alone Against the Static. Written by B.W. Holland, the adventure was published by Chaosium in 2023 as both a PDF and this adorably thin 100-page hardback. Now, for those not familiar with the Call of Cthulhu Alone Against series, they're solitary adventures designed to be played without a game master. Now, this is done very reminiscent to the style of the old choose-your-own-adventure books from back in the day, where the player chooses one of several paths to take, or in the event of the game, where skill rolls and their dice might choose that path for them. The adventure offers us 371 numbered different scenes that we might play through. Players will need either the Keeper's Guide or starter set rules in order to play it, but I'm pretty sure you could get away with just using the free Quick Start rules. I can't think of anything that was in the adventure where I couldn't use the Quick Start rules for this. This was the third of the Alone Against adventures that I've played. Alone Against the Flames, which is free, and that was my introduction to Call of Cthulhu. And then I later did Alone Against the Dark, which I've also reviewed that one. Now, so out of the three that I've played, Alone Against the Static was head and shoulders above the rest. This is a fantastic solitary adventure, and not just from the mechanics side of the different mechanics that they had to kind of change a little bit to let it be kind of more fun as you're playing as a solitary game, but from the story side as well. Oh yeah, this scenario, this got a legitimate emotional reaction from me, which is really freaking hard to do with a published adventure. One, the feeling of being inside a crumbling relationship, it managed to pull that one off. And two, this scenario is legitimately creepy. Like, I felt actual dread while playing it, which that one is really hard to pull off because I have played a lot of horror scenarios. Now, this is normally when I would drop a big spoiler warning and say how only game masters should proceed any further. However, because there is no game master for this adventure, I'm not going to spoil anything about it, so don't worry about ruining your experience of playing this adventure. The scenario was set in the 1990s as a couple, Alex and Charlie, try to mend their failing relationship with a weekend getaway to a remote cabin in the South Dakota Black Hills, and you can play either Alex or Charlie for it. Now, because they have different skills and there are so many different paths this adventure can take, it's less about which character that you play, but more about which character that you play first. So, my first time I played Charlie, going through 113 of the 371 scenes, and then once I was done with that, I played it again as Alex, and it was really cool to see the different directions that those two went based off which character that I had and which, different options that I chose. Playtime is said to be between 1 and 2 hours, and that was pretty much my experience playing it during my 3 different playthroughs of it. What do you mean 3? There's only 2 player characters in this one. Yeah, during my first playthrough as Alex, my dice were being really uncooperative and I died pretty quickly. So I went back several scenes and chose a different path and played it out until I encountered a different but slightly less horrible ending. One thing that threw me off at first is while the adventure is presented in second-person framing, addressing you, such as, you open the door, you pick up the hammer, your partner is only presented by their name or in the gender-neutral they. The idea being that you get to decide Alex and Charlie's gender. Not a problem, I just assumed based off of the pictures that Alex was female and Charlie male, but I quickly got used to it and I didn't really notice it anymore for long, but at first it did seem just a little bit awkward the way everything was phrased. To play the scenario, you just need to grab a copy of either character sheet. If you have the physical book, you can download copies for free off of the Chaosium website. The only thing that you need to do is roll up the character's luck stat. Now, I think it would have been nice to have each of us just have a pool to assign out of 50, maybe even 100 skill points for each character, but we don't get that option. You just get the character as is, and all you roll up is their luck. You'll also need a copy of the log sheet. Now, it's in the PDF, or you can download one for free off of the Chaosium website. This log sheet is brilliant. It is something that I hope that they employ in the other Chaosium solitary scenarios, because I absolutely love the way this thing works. Now, the top portion is a checklist of conditions, for the lack of a better word. Now, each of them has this catchy little name that doesn't spoil anything. For example, if you play Alex, the first thing you check is Alex. Or if you're playing Charlie, you check the Charlie box. Or, and I don't consider this one a spoiler, at one point you might decide to change clothes. Now you can decide if you want to put on jeans and a shirt or track pants and a sweater, and depending on which, you check either practical or comfortable. As the adventure plays out, conditions that you've checked will make an impact. Now they might open up or limit new choices, or incur a bonus or a penalty to a certain role, or maybe it represents an item that you picked up, or a clue that you found, or a specific success or failure that you had earlier in the adventure, and now this is going to affect you later on. This is a brilliant mechanic. I love this as a means of doing these solitary adventures. I really hope that Chaosium employs these again in future Alone Against scenarios. The lower half of the sheet goes over damage and sanity, and what to do if your character takes a major wound, or reaches 0 hit points, suffers a bout of madness, or goes indefinitely insane. Which these then point you to certain entries, such as the one for bout of madness. You roll a d4, and that sends you to the different entries for what type of bout of madness that you had. This is a great way of addressing those mechanical issues of hit points and sanity that are most likely going to be going down as the adventure is progressing, and make it feel a lot more like how a Call of Cthulhu adventure should feel. Like the fact that you're losing sanity and everything really does make a difference. Real quick, the PDF, there are these C's at the ends of these lines. It's clearly some sort of formatting artifact. Now this doesn't appear in the printed book or in the downloadable sheet from the Chaosium website, but it does appear in the PDF of the adventure book. So Chaosium, you might want to correct and update those PDF books. My big piece of advice when you're running this scenario, or really any of the Alone Against scenarios, is to go ahead and track the scene numbers, every single one, as you're doing it, because it can be really easy, especially with the print edition, when you're flipping through the book and everything, to just end up losing your place. Or is most likely the case with Seth, transposing 2 of those numbers, right? So you flip it through the book because you're trying to get to scene 285, and you get there, and all of a sudden you realize that, that definitely ain't it. Maybe it was 258. So then you flip to the book to 258 and you realize that, that wasn't the one either. But now you can't remember which scene it was that you just done that sent you this. And now you're kind of flipping through the book just trying to figure out where in the hell you are. Just save yourself a ton of time and frustration and write those down once you start a scene. Fortunately, the PDFs are hyperlinked, not only to take you to the correct entry at the end, but also links back to what entry that you came from. So it's less critical that you write them down if you're using the PDF, but I still went ahead and wrote them down because as much as Chaosium tried to make this idiot-proof by having everything hyperlinked, I kind of feel that they underestimate my ability to be an idiot, so I recommend going ahead and writing them all down as you're going through them. This was the sheet that I used when I played Charlie, and you can see the list of numbers going along both sides and a little bit on the back as I was playing through it, so I strongly suggest that you go ahead and you track your entries as you go, whether you're going to be using the PDF or not. The scenario opens with Alex and Charlie driving through the woods to a remote cabin that's owned by Charlie's brother. Now, because this is a strained couple, we get to play out how they act as they're, wrestling with the big paper map and messing with the radio because there's almost no signal at all out here, and what choices we make as far as our reactions to each other might check certain conditions such as broken heart or blame game. My problem with them struggling with the radio is this adventure is set in the 90s, and as everybody remembers, every car in the 90s was armed with that giant-ass book of CDs, right? Like half of which were movie soundtracks, because movie soundtracks are pretty awesome back in the day. So it could have just opened with them arguing about which CD it is they want to play, because you just know that one of them wants to listen to Alanis Morissette for like the 9,000th time. During my playthrough, I decided that Charlie legitimately wanted this relationship to work out, while Alex was the more toxic one and mostly going through the motions and unconsciously sabotaging the relationship. Now, arriving at the cabin, there isn't much to do, but there is a TV and VCR there with a whole mess of VHS tapes, and one of them seems to be an unmarked home movie. Holy crap, a cabin in the woods and an unmarked VHS tape. Yeah, that one never ends well. Being set in the 90s, the player characters, they haven't seen The Ring yet. So while the characters, they're all worried that they might have stumbled across a porno that Charlie's brother and his wife made, I'm worried that some creepy little girl is about to come crawling out of that television screen and eating my soul. Now what happens next, you're going to need to play the adventure to find out, because it can go a lot of different ways. There is a definite found footage element to the adventure, as we might discover more strange videotapes. We might explore the woods, see some wildlife, meet the locals, which might result in a slight disagreement till we bury the hatchet, showering off the viscera, commune with nature, and in the end, might discover the true nature of the static, save your relationship, and live happily ever after. forever and ever and ever. There is a lot of different ways this adventure can go. Overall, I am really impressed with this adventure. It managed to get me both emotionally invested in the characters' relationship and successfully elicit feelings of dread once the horror began, and that is very impressive for an adventure to do to me. You can pick up a copy on the Chaosium website as a hardback and PDF, or you can find PDF copies on DriveThruRPG, links below. If you're in the mood for a solid solitary horror adventure, I strongly recommend checking Alone Against the Static out. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of our stuff, such as game reviews, RPG philosophy, just hit that subscribe button. Till next time, gamers, you have a great day. You know, this scenario only proves what it was that I have been saying for years. And that's if you're in some sort of rocky relationship and you want to work everything out with your partner, the last place that you should be going is some remote cabin in the woods somewhere, because there ain't no chance in hell that both of you are going to be surviving that weekend. The only people that seem to fall for that gag are the people that don't watch horror movies.